The OCD and Anxiety Podcast by Robert James Coaching. Hello and welcome to the OCD and Anxiety Podcast, where we explore how to have a more positive relationship with anxiety disorders, taking back control so that you can start living the life you choose and not the one chosen by your fears. Hello and welcome to episode 336. I'm currently sat in my camper van on a very windy mountain with a dog that really wants to go for a walk. So Bruno, I will be taking you for that walk shortly, but before we get to that, I'm now trying to grow the Facebook group for the podcast. So if you're interested in joining that, you can search for the OCD and Anxiety Podcast Facebook group, and you can join there. And please feel free to get involved, because right now there's quite a few people in that group, but only one or two people are interacting at all, and one of those is me. So if you fancy joining, and you fancy interacting and getting involved there, that would be fantastic. Also, if you would like to get a free session with me, of course you can. To get that, you can head over to my website, robertjamescoaching.com, and there you can book that free session, or you can send me a message. Now, in today's podcast, I'm going to be talking about really what we really mean by self-compassion, because in my view, it's split up into two components, and we need to be able to understand those to really get the amazing benefits from self-compassion. And there really is huge benefits from being able to understand how to apply self-compassion to OCD. So I really hope that you enjoy. If you have any questions at all about anything I speak about today, do please let me know. And off we go. Self-compassion is one of those words that gets thrown around a lot, particularly when it comes to anxiety and OCD. You need to learn to be more self-compassionate. You need to learn to do this. And it's almost like that word acceptance. Hey, you just need to learn how to accept your anxiety. And it's like, well, yeah, of course, if I knew how to do that, but it's, how do I actually do that? And self-compassion, I think, can be, you can end up stuck with it like that as well. And also, I think there's resistance to self-compassion, because a lot of us really think that it's about, self-indulgence, or, it's a bit airy-fairy, or it's not kind of clear what you have to do. And so what I want to do today is really kind of just make it very clear, actually, what I mean by self-compassion and why it can be so helpful for OCD. So first off, there's two parts to self-compassion in my view. And it's very important to understand them because they're very distinct. And the first is that classic kind of understanding of self-compassion, really. It's not indulgence, but it's kind of really understanding and allowing the fact that, you're human, you're not perfect. Sometimes you are going to make mistakes, and actually that's okay. And that when these things happen, we shouldn't focus on these things and get angry or upset with ourselves. And a really good example of this with OCD is when we find ourselves, taking a backward step. Maybe we've been doing a bit better, but then we fall into old habits, and we get really angry and really upset with ourselves, and we focus on how ridiculous it is, or what a bad person we are for falling back again. And this is obviously anti-self-compassion. This kind of thing is the inner critic. It will hold you back. It will stop you from making progress. And actually, it's really important that when we do make mistakes, which are inevitable, that we actually forgive ourselves for that we recognize that what we're doing is hard, that OCD is hard. It's not an easy thing to deal with at all. And so, when we do make mistakes, or when we do start ruminating again, or when we perform that compulsion again, it's so important that we bring a sense of understanding to that, a sense of calm. Almost observe that, and observe the reactions that are coming up, that judgment that might come up, or that shame, or that guilt, or that anger. Just observe it. But you don't have to get lost in it. You don't need to start telling yourself that old narrative about how useless you are or how terrible you are. Actually, you've just had a setback, which is a normal part of the process of when you're learning how to manage OCD. You're not going to be able to just do it straight away. You're going to be out there in your life practicing, and sometimes it's going to go well, and other times you're going to make mistakes. And actually, you need to make those mistakes in order to improve. And it's about having that kind of growth mindset about it. Now, the other side to self-compassion is one that isn't talked about so much, and actually I need to kind of really describe this in the right way to make sure that it comes across correctly. Because you may be surprised with the word that I'm going to use to describe the other component of self-compassion. But that is actually discipline. So why do I say that? Well, if you want to go, for example, for a run, you know that going for a run is going to be good for you. It's going to be good for your body. You're giving your cardiovascular system a good workout. But not only that, when it comes to OCD and anxiety, we know, there's been a lot of research done into exercise. It's been proven to be very helpful for anxiety problems. And so, when we go for a run or something, we're doing ourselves actually a big favor. But the problem is resistance will come up. Often we don't want to do it. Maybe some people do. Maybe some of you love it so much you just can't wait to go out running. But to be honest, often when I want to go for a run or a bike ride or whatever it is that I want to do, there's resistance. There's this part of me that goes, well, it'd just be much easier to just sit here, and to carry on with work or to go and speak with my friend or whatever it is. And actually, what we have to do in that situation is we have to discipline ourselves in order to get the payoff later on, in order to feel good later on. We actually have to discipline ourselves in the moment. And so much of learning to manage OCD actually involves this kind of discipline, but it's not a kind of harsh discipline. It's a compassionate discipline. It's focused on, I'm doing this difficult thing now in order to feel better later. And therefore, it's not the kind of inner critic kind of discipline, which isn't really discipline at all. It's kind of horrible. It's just beating yourself up. It's very negative. It's self-sabotaging. This is completely different. This is the type of discipline where you recognize that you're doing it out of love. You're disciplining yourself from a positive place. And, we can apply it to all sorts of things. We can bring, more discipline to making sure that we do those exposure activities. We can bring a bit more discipline to making sure that actually we are doing our absolute best to manage those ruminations, because it's so tempting, to get stuck in those old habits of, going over the ruminations again and trying to have more certainty. And actually, self-compassion, it helps us to recognize that, in order for us to feel better, we might actually need to allow ourselves to feel uncomfortable in the short term. We might actually have to allow ourselves to feel the anxiety without doing anything to push it away, to do an exposure activity and allow ourselves to feel that discomfort. Bizarrely, that is self-compassion, because it is going to make you feel better in the long term, but in the short term, it can be difficult. So, this is a really important concept to understand. This is the way I really understand self-compassion, is from these two components. Ultimately being kind to yourself and forgiving mistakes, recognizing that you're not perfect, and also bringing a sense of this compassionate discipline to the table as well. When we are able to combine those two things, it can really help us with learning how to manage OCD in the long term. So there we go, guys. I really hope that you found that one helpful. As always, if you have any questions at all about anything that I've spoken about today, do please let me know. And right now, I'm going to go off with Bruno for a little walk in the mountain, and hopefully I won't get blown off the mountain. We will see. If you hear me next time, then I was successful in my mission. Okay, guys, well, many thanks, and I hope you found it helpful today. Just a quick reminder that if you want to get a free session, all you need to do to get that is to head over to my website, www.robertjamescoaching.com, and there you can leave me a message and we can arrange the free session. And now just a quick reminder of my disclaimer. Any information that you view on my website, Instagram page, Facebook group, or anywhere else online, or any information that you listen to on the podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for actual medical or mental health advice from a doctor, psychologist, or any other medical or mental health professional.